So, what does infringement mean? The act of limiting or undermining something. The Second Amendment is a set of rules and laws for the government to follow. It wasn't written to restrict the freedoms of the people, the citizens. Rather, it's a set of rules and laws to restrict the government from overreach and tyranny. It wasn't written about self-defense. It wasn't written about hunting. No, it was written about preventing a tyrannical government. It's written to keep the government in check. That brings me to the HR 127, House Resolution 127. It's probably the worst thing I've ever seen as far as gun control.
Under the firearm registration system, the owner of a firearm shall transmit to the Bureau, the FBI, the make, model, and serial number of the firearm, the identity of the owner of the firearm, the date the firearm was acquired by the owner, and where the firearm is or will be stored. You might be thinking that that's a little bit of a stretch. You'd be right, but hang on. Also, a notice specifying the identity of any person to whom in any period of time during which the firearm will be loaned to the person. So, I'm going to give them every bit of this personal information on me and every bit of the specific information on those guys, as well as where to find me and all of these guys. You see where this is going, right? Access. This is access to this information. The Attorney General shall make the contents of the database accessible to all members of the public. Listen to what I'm saying. It says in black and white, to all members of the public. So everybody and anybody who wants to know where my firearms are, what firearms I have, how many I have, who they belong to, and all of that pertinent information that pertains to me and my firearms, now will know what I've got and where I have them at all times, because if I don't give this information to the federal government, they can penalize me or throw me in jail. We'll get to that later on. Moving on, that the requirements for the licensing system, a general license, except as otherwise provided in this subsection, the Attorney General shall issue to an individual a license to possess a firearm and ammunition. This is not just for a firearm. You must possess a license to possess, buy, transport any firearm or any amount of ammunition, 1 bullet or 1,000. You're also going to have to undergo a psychological evaluation. Conducted in accordance with paragraph 2, and the evaluation does not indicate that the individual is psychologically unsuited to possess a firearm. You also will have to successfully complete a training course certified by the Attorney General, who is going to be an anti-gun person. You know who this is. It's Merrick Garland, right? That's the anti-gun Attorney General that would be behind all of this. This training course is going to involve the use, safety, and storage of firearms that includes at least 24 hours of training. And then this one, the military-style weapons license. This one applies to almost every single gun that I have. The Attorney General shall issue to an individual a license to own and possess a military-style weapon if the individual is a holder of a license. After applying for a license under this subparagraph, licensee successfully completes a training course certified by the Attorney General. Again, an anti-gun Attorney General is going to determine what is a good, qualified, and certifiable course for using a military-style weapon. In the use of safety, storage of the weapon, and includes at least 24 hours of training. It also says the Attorney General may deny such a license to an individual if they have a chronic mental illness or disturbance. Again, what a wide open net that you're casting right there. Nothing specific. If they deem it a disturbance, you ain't getting it. Or a brain disease. You know what one of the #1 brain diseases out there is? Brain cancer. So you're telling me that if somebody gets brain cancer, now their guns have to be confiscated from them and they have to give their license up. Yes, that's what this is actually saying. Prior psychological treatment or evaluation of the individual indicated that the individual engaged in conduct that posed a danger to self or others. You better watch what you put on your Facebook post, because all that is going to be something that they can go out there and look at and may prevent you from owning a gun, buying a gun, owning ammunition, or ever having one and having all of them taken from you. Suspension of a license. Lack of firearm insurance. Oh, yeah, you're going to need that. Revocation of license. A license issued under this subsection to an individual who is or becomes prohibited by federal or state law from possessing a firearm is hereby revoked. Such an individual shall immediately return the license and surrender all firearms and ammunition owned or possessed by the individual to the Attorney General. Firearm insurance. In general, the Attorney General shall issue to any person who has applied for a license pursuant to subsection C and has paid the Attorney General the fee specified in paragraph 2. Let's skip down to paragraph 2 real quick. The fee specified in this paragraph is $800. Think of all these things that are adding up now. This is $800. This $800 fee, it's renewable annually. They've somehow abandoned assault weapon in here. You know how they used to love that term so much? Guys, they have totally abandoned it in this entire bill, but now they refer to them as military-style weapons. Within 1 year after the date of the enactment of this act, the Attorney General shall prescribe final regulations to implement the amendments made by this subsection. So when we start complaining about the meat and potatoes in this bill, H.R. 127, let's not forget that the Attorney General can add or subtract anything he wants to this, because they're saying in this section right here that he has the right to change anything he wants to before the enactment of this law. This, as you can see by my notes, is where you pay the price. Your first penalty will be for anyone who possesses a firearm or ammunition who is not carrying a valid license. And in the case of a firearm owned by the firearm is not registered to the person. If you're not carrying the license to say that you have permission by the federal government, it feels so stupid saying that because this is the God-given right. But if you're not carrying your license from the government to give you permission, let me follow my lines over here. Whoever knowingly violates this section shall be fined not less than $75,000 and not more than $150,000, imprisoned not less than 15 years and not more than 25 years. They're going to break you and they're going to imprison you. If you own or possess 50 caliber bullets or rounds of any kind, you're going to pay a minimum of $50,000, spend 10 years in jail. And if you are caught with a standard capacity magazine of 11 rounds or more, you will pay a fine of $10,000 for a minimum and serve at least 1 year in prison. There's no grandfather clause in here. Every magazine that you've got, this ain't like the 1994 deal. Every high capacity magazine that they say that you have that's 11 rounds or more, you got to get rid of. Or you're going to have compounded sentences and penalties thrown on top of that. This is one of about 6 that I'm waiting on the wording of 5 others to come out. When they say the devil is in the details, it's worse than that. The devil wouldn't come up with something like this.
As usual, I advise you all, listen to everyone, read everything, believe absolutely nothing. Not from me, not even from your own mother, unless you can prove it in your own research, in your own investigations, in your own right. That is the only way you will ever know if anything is really the truth. You see, we got in the situation that we're in by trusting people to do the right thing, because it can't happen in America. Were you aware, ladies and gentlemen, that your favorite president, on June 16, 1983, under Executive Order 12425, entitled International Criminal Police Organizations, Ronald Reagan signed this executive order, which literally gives international criminal police organizations immunity from all laws of the United States of America. Ladies and gentlemen, what you're going to hear tonight and tomorrow night is going to anger you, probably to the point of exploding. You're going to find that we've been betrayed, that the United States really does not exist except in your minds, and some of you reached that conclusion yesterday when I showed you what's really in the Constitution and compared it to what's really happening, and they do not agree at all. If the Constitution is the supreme law of the land, how can that happen? Unless, of course, it's already been subverted and thrown into the trash can. And I'm telling you right now, that is exactly what has happened. We have been betrayed. The Constitution, ladies and gentlemen, was scrapped many, many years ago. We are being propelled gradually, but faster and faster all the time, into a one-world, totalitarian, socialist, utopian government. By utopian, I mean that's what they want us to believe. It is not going to be utopian by any stretch of the word or the imagination.